Brittany was sitting on my couch eating my crackers when I walked through the door, bald, shaking, and still holding the plastic bag the chemo nurse gave me for the ride home. She did not stand up. She did not ask how I felt. She looked at me over the rim of my own coffee mug and said, in that soft voice she used when she wanted to sound kind, "Ruth, sweetheart, it was time. The house needed it." I just stood in the entryway, trying to understand what time meant in that sentence. Then I saw the closet door open behind her. Empty. 6 contractor bags by the curb. Frank had been gone 14 months. His flannel shirts had been in that closet that morning. I could still smell him on the blue one when I left for the hospital at 6. By 2 in the afternoon, my daughter-in-law had decided I had grieved enough. What she did not know was that Frank, 3 years before he died, had walked into a lawyer's office without telling me and signed a single piece of paper that would, on a Wednesday in October, end her marriage to my son. Stay with me. I am going to tell you exactly how it happened. My name is Ruth. I am 68 years old, a retired second-grade teacher from a small town outside Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and on the afternoon I am telling you about, I was halfway through my 4th round of chemotherapy. My oldest friend Diane had driven me. She wanted to come inside. I told her no. I told her I needed 10 minutes alone in my own house before I let anyone see me cry. That was the first mistake I made that day. I opened the front door and smelled lemon cleaner. Frank hated lemon cleaner. He used to say it smelled like a hospital pretending to be a kitchen. The smell told me everything before my eyes did. Brittany was on the couch with her shoes off. My coffee mug, the one with the little blue forget-me-nots that Frank gave me for our 30th anniversary, was in her hand. She looked up and smiled the way she smiled at waitresses she was about to send back to the kitchen. Brittany lowered her voice the way she always did before she said something cruel. "Ruth, sweetheart, sit down. We need to talk about the house." I did not sit down. I asked her where the flannel shirts were. She tilted her head like I had asked her something confusing. "The closet, Brittany. Frank's closet. Where are his shirts?" She set down the mug. She folded her hands. "Sweetheart," she said again, "it has been over a year. The grandkids come over and it smells like an old man in here. I did you a favor. You probably already know the kind of woman I mean. The kind who uses the word favor the way other people use the word weapon. The kind who shows up uninvited and rearranges your medicine cabinet and calls it love." I had known Brittany for 9 years. I had watched her correct my recipes in front of my own grandchildren. I had listened to her tell my son Daniel that I was hoarding because I kept Frank's address book in the drawer by the phone. I had even let her unplug Frank's old answering machine, the one with his voice still on the outgoing message, because she said it was, in her exact word, morbid. I let all of that go. I told myself she was young. I told myself Daniel loved her. I told myself 1,000 things that all turned out to be lies I told myself. But 6 contractor bags by the curb while I was being poisoned in a hospital chair. That was a different country. I walked past her, into the bedroom, and opened the closet. My robe was there. My shoes were there. The empty hangers were lined up like teeth. I counted them. 11 hangers, 11 shirts. The blue flannel he wore the morning he was diagnosed. The red one he wore to Daniel's wedding. The soft gray one I had pulled around my shoulders the night the hospice nurse called. I walked back into the living room. Brittany was on her phone. I said, "Brittany, get out of my house." She did not look up. She said, "Ruth, Daniel is on his way. We were going to talk to you together. About a plan. A plan." That word sat in the air like a fly. Before I tell you what the plan was, I have to back up 3 years, to a Tuesday in 2017, when Frank came home from what he said was a dentist appointment and would not meet my eyes at dinner. I asked him twice what was wrong. He said nothing was wrong. He squeezed my hand under the table and said, "Ruthie, I just took care of something. I will tell you about it someday." Then he changed the subject to the Phillies. Frank had been an Army logistics officer for 22 years. When Frank said he took care of something, he had taken care of something. I did not know it then, but he had spent that afternoon at the office of a lawyer named Thomas Riley, and he had done 2 things. Hold on to those 2 things. I will come back to them. Daniel arrived in my driveway 40 minutes after I came home from chemo. I watched him from the window. He sat in his car for a long time before he came inside. He had a manila folder in his hand. 3 sentences into his hello, I knew he had rehearsed it in the car. "Mom," he said, "we love you. We are worried about you. Brittany has been talking to a few people. We think the house is too much." Brittany was already standing behind him with her arms crossed. She had the soft voice on again. "Sweetheart," she said to me, "it would be temporary. Just until you feel stronger. There is a beautiful place in Mechanicsburg. We toured it last Saturday. While I was in a hospital chair with a needle in my arm, they had been touring a place for me to live." I looked at Daniel. I looked at his shoes. He used to hide behind those same shoes when he was 4 years old and had broken something. He was 41 now and still doing it. I said, "Daniel, look at me." He looked up. I said, "The bag's by the curb." He said, "Mom, she was trying to help." I said it again. "The bag's by the curb." The kitchen went quiet. Brittany stepped forward and put her hand on Daniel's arm and said the sentence that I will hear in my head until the day they put me in the ground. She said, "Ruth, honey, Frank is dead. The shirts were just things. You have to let go of things eventually." I did not answer. I did not cry. I walked past both of them into the kitchen and I picked up the phone. The old phone, the one with the cord, the one Brittany had laughed at the previous Christmas. I dialed a number from memory, a number I had not used in 14 months. Pastor Howard answered on the second ring. I said, "Howard, it is Ruth. It is time. I am ready for the letter." He was quiet for a beat. Then he said, "Ruth, I will be there in 20 minutes. I hung up. Daniel said, "Mom, what letter?" I said, "Sit down, Daniel. Both of you. Sit down." They sat. For the first time in 9 years, Brittany did what I told her to do. I think it was the chemo cap I had not taken off yet. I think for a second she remembered I was a real person. If you have ever stood in your own kitchen and felt the floor shift under your feet, you know the next part. Frank, my Frank, had left a sealed letter with our pastor on that same Tuesday in 2017. He had told Howard, "Give this to Ruth only when she asks for it. Not when I die, not when she is sad, when she asks for it." He had used those words. Frank had known. Somehow, 3 years before he was even diagnosed, my husband had known a day like this was coming. While we waited for Howard, Brittany tried twice to start talking again. The first time, she said, "Ruth, whatever Frank wrote, it was a long time ago. Things change." The second time, she said, "Sweetheart, you are not thinking clearly. The chemo." I did not answer her either time. I just looked at the clock on the microwave and counted the minutes. Howard came to the back door because that was the door Frank had always used. He had the envelope in his hand, cream-colored, Frank's handwriting on the front, "For Ruthie when she is ready." I sat at the kitchen table. I opened it. I read it twice before I said anything. Then I folded it back up, set it on the table, and looked at Brittany. I said, "The house is not in my name and Frank's name. It has not been in our name together since October of 2017. Frank put it in my maiden name only. Just mine." He filed the paperwork the same week he wrote this letter. Brittany's face did a thing I had never seen it do. It went still, completely still, like a screen that had frozen. Daniel said, "What?" I slid the letter across the table to him. I let him read it himself. I want you to picture his face going through that letter. I want you to picture the moment a 41-year-old man realizes his father saw his wife coming from 3 years away. The letter said more than the deed. The letter named a lawyer, Thomas Riley. The letter said, "Ruthie, if anyone," and Frank had underlined the word anyone, "tries to move you out of this house, tries to put you in a home, tries to take anything of mine that you still want to hold, call Tom. He has the rest of what you need. He is waiting. The rest of what you need." I did not know yet what the rest was, but I knew Frank. Frank did not leave one weapon in a drawer. Frank left a row of them, lined up, oiled, and ready. I will tell you in a minute what the second weapon was. First, you need to hear what Brittany did next. She stood up. She picked up her purse, the big white one with the gold clasp she always opened and closed when she was nervous, click and click, like a small mouth. She said, "Daniel, we are leaving. Your mother is confused. We will come back when she has had time to think." Daniel did not stand up. She said it again. "Daniel, we are leaving." He said, "Britt, sit down." It was the first time in 9 years I had heard my son say no to her. Not loudly, not even firmly, just quietly, the way Frank used to say it. She sat down. She opened and closed the clasp 3 times. Click, click, click. If you have ever sat across a table from family who arrived with paperwork they had rehearsed in the car, you already know this feeling. The air gets thin. Everybody is breathing a little too carefully. Stay with me. I am almost to the part you came for. I told Daniel to take his wife home. I told him I loved him. I told him I would be calling Tom Riley first thing in the morning, and that he and Brittany were welcome to call him too, after I did. I told him the locks on the house would be changed by noon. I told him Brittany's key, the one she kept on her gym keychain, would not work when she came back. Daniel said, "Mom, please." I said, "Daniel, I am tired. I just had chemo. I need to lie down. Take her home." He took her home. I locked the door behind them. I sat down at the kitchen table. And for the first time since Frank died, I cried the kind of crying that has no sound. Just shoulders. Just shoulders for a long time. Then I got up, walked to the bedroom, opened Frank's sock drawer, and took out the small wooden box he had carved in the basement the winter after he retired. Inside that box were 3 things: a photograph of us on a beach in 1973, a pocket watch his father had carried in Korea, and a small key on a piece of red string. The key did not fit any door in our house. I had asked him once what it was for. He had smiled and said, "Someday you will know. I knew now." In the morning, I called Tom Riley. He answered on the first ring like he had been waiting for 14 months. He said, "Mrs. Walsh, your husband told me you might call. I am glad it is you and not somebody else. He told me to come to his office at 10. He told me to bring the key. I went. I brought it." Tom Riley was about Frank's age. He had Frank's same kind of quiet. He led me into a back room. There was a small safe in the wall. The key fit. Inside the safe were 4 things. The deed to the house in my maiden name only, just like Frank's letter had said. A bank statement for an account in my name only that I had never seen, with a balance that, when I read the number, made me sit down in the leather chair across from his desk. A folder of letters Brittany had sent Frank over the years that he had kept and never showed me. And a small handheld recorder, the kind a man might carry to a meeting. The recorder had 1 file on it, recorded 3 weeks before Frank died, 18 minutes long. Tom said, "Your husband asked me to let you decide whether to listen to that. He said you would know when." I said, "Can you tell me what is on it?" He said, "Mrs. Walsh, your daughter-in-law sat in your living room 3 weeks before your husband died and told him that when he was gone, she would have you placed somewhere within the year." She said it twice. Frank had the recorder in his shirt pocket. He pressed it when she started talking. The kitchen, in my memory, went quiet again, even though I was not in the kitchen, even though I was in a lawyer's office on a Wednesday morning in October. Everything went quiet. I did not listen to the recording that day. I asked Tom to keep it. I asked him 1 question. I said, "Tom, what would Frank want me to do?" He smiled the smallest smile. He said, "Ruth, Frank did not want you to do anything yet. He wanted you to have the choice." I went home. I changed the locks at noon, just like I said I would. I called the bank and confirmed the account. The number was still the number. I sat in Frank's chair in the living room for a long time. That night, Brittany called the house 7 times. I let it ring. The 8th time I picked up. She had the soft voice on again. "Sweetheart. Ruth. Honey, we need to talk. Daniel is upset. You are confusing him." I said 1 sentence to her. I said, "Brittany, 3 weeks before Frank died, you sat in this living room and told him you would have me placed within a year? He recorded you. The recording is with his lawyer. I have not decided yet what I am going to do with it." She did not answer for what felt like a full minute. Then she said, "Ruth, I do not know what you think you heard." I said, "I have not heard it yet, but I will. Good night, Brittany." I hung up. Daniel came over alone on Saturday. He sat at the kitchen table where his wife had sat 4 days before. He did not bring a folder this time. He brought a coffee from the place Frank used to like. He said, "Mom, is it true?" I said, "Daniel, do you want me to play it for you?" He sat there for a long time. 5 people in our family had stopped speaking to me by then because of things Brittany had told them. 5. I had counted on the drive home from the lawyer, my sister, my brother, Daniel's mother-in-law, 2 cousins, 5 people who thought I was a difficult, hoarding, declining old woman because one young woman with a soft voice and a gold purse clasp had been telling a careful story for 9 years. Daniel said, "Yes." I played him 3 minutes of it, just 3. Brittany's voice, lower than her normal voice, telling my dying husband what she would do to me once he was gone. Daniel did not cry. Daniel did not speak. Daniel just sat there with both hands flat on the table. Then he said, "Mom, I am going home to pack a bag." I said, "Daniel, I am not asking you to leave her." He said, "You are not asking. I am telling you. I want to be honest with you. I thought maybe it happened on a Sunday. Maybe it was a Saturday. I just remember the coffee getting cold between us while he sat there. Daniel did not divorce her that week. He did not divorce her that month. But on a Wednesday in October, almost a year to the day after Frank died, the papers were filed. Brittany got the white couch. Brittany did not get the house she had been touring me into. Brittany did not get the grandchildren on her terms. Brittany did not get Daniel. I never played the full recording for anyone. I never had to. 3 minutes had been enough. A year later, on a Tuesday in March, I was sitting in my own living room, in my own house, in my maiden name only, drinking from the mug with the little blue forget-me-nots. My hair had grown back, gray and short, but mine. My granddaughter Hannah was on the rug with her crayons. She looked up at me and said, "Grandma, why do you keep Grandpa's flannel shirt on the chair?" I had bought a new one. Soft, blue, almost the same. I kept it folded on the arm of Frank's chair. I said, "Sweetheart, because some days I still need to put my hand on it." She nodded the way only a 6-year-old can nod, like that was the most reasonable sentence in the world. She went back to her crayons. Outside, somewhere down the street, a car door closed. I did not flinch. I had not flinched at a car door in 11 months. I picked up the mug. I set it down on the little table beside Frank's chair. The forget-me-nots faced the window, the way he always used to turn them. I had not even noticed I was doing it. Frank had left me a house. Frank had left me an account. Frank had left me a recording I never finished. But the thing Frank really left me, the weapon I did not understand until that Tuesday in March, was the quiet. The quiet of a house where no one was waiting to rearrange me. The quiet of a phone that only rang when someone who loved me wanted to hear my voice. I sat in that quiet for a long time. Then Hannah climbed up into my lap with a crayon drawing of a stick figure woman with no hair, holding the hand of a stick figure man in a blue shirt. She said, "That is you and Grandpa." I said, "Yes, sweetheart, that is us." And I put my hand on the soft blue flannel folded on the arm of the chair, and I let it stay there.